The night was quiet, too quiet for a suburban street where lights flickered and shadows stretched across empty lawns. Emma, a young woman living alone, froze as she heard the soft knock at her door. She had been expecting nothing, and yet here someone stood, a man she barely knew. Her heart raced as she stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Why are you here at my house?" On the other side of the door was Jack, a single dad and a janitor who most people overlooked, moving through life quietly, unseen. But tonight, there was urgency in his eyes, a seriousness that made Emma take a cautious step back. He didn't hesitate, his words slicing through the tension like a warning, "To keep you alive." Emma's mind raced. Keep her alive? How could this stranger know something she didn't? And why would he come to her home in the middle of the night? Questions flooded her thoughts as fear and curiosity collided. The ordinary, safe world she thought she knew was suddenly replaced by uncertainty, and the familiar walls of her house felt smaller, more confining. Jack's presence was both a mystery and a promise, and the air between them crackled with unspoken urgency. Something dangerous was out there, something Emma couldn't see, but Jack had come prepared, and somehow, he already knew the stakes. As Emma stared at him, frozen and unsure whether to trust him, the sounds outside shifted, a faint noise, a shadow moving just beyond the window. The moment hung on a knife's edge, and everything she thought she knew was about to change. Would she open the door fully, or would fear make her step back? Emma hesitated, her hand hovering over the doorknob as her mind raced. Jack didn't move closer, but his gaze never wavered. There was something about him, a calm determination that made her question why she felt both afraid and oddly reassured at the same time. She noticed the faint scratches on his jacket, the tired lines on his face, and the way he carried himself like someone who had faced danger before and survived. I don't understand," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible. "Why me? Why now?" Jack took a slow breath, his eyes scanning the street through the dim light of the porch. "You don't know it yet," he said, "but someone's been following you. They've been planning this for weeks, and tonight, it could get worse if you're alone." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had always felt safe in her small home, tucked away in the quiet neighborhood, but now every shadow seemed alive, every creak of the floor like a warning. Memories of late-night walks, suspicious cars, and the uneasy feeling that had been growing over the past month came rushing back. She had brushed them off as paranoia, but Jack's words made her realize she hadn't been imagining it. Jack glanced at her, urgency flashing in his eyes. "I know this is hard to believe, but I don't have time to explain everything. You need to trust me, even just for tonight. There's a lot more at stake than you realize." Emma swallowed hard, fear and confusion battling in her chest. She wanted answers, but deep down, she knew one thing: tonight, nothing would ever feel safe again. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying a sense of danger that Emma couldn't ignore, and the question lingered: could she really let him in? Emma finally opened the door a crack, just enough to let Jack step inside, her hand trembling as she held it. The warmth from the house contrasted sharply with the chill outside, but the unease didn't leave her. Jack moved cautiously, keeping one eye on the shadows beyond the windows. "I'm sorry for barging in like this," Jack said quietly. "I didn't want to scare you, but time is short." His voice carried a weight that made Emma realize this wasn't just some random threat. Something, or someone, was targeting her, and he had been tracking it longer than she could imagine. As they spoke, Emma's phone buzzed silently on the table. She glanced at it, then froze, an unknown number flashing repeatedly. Jack's eyes flicked to it. "They're closer than you think," he said, a tense edge in his tone. "Every call, every text, it's a way to track you. I've been trying to intercept them before tonight, but they're smart. Too smart." Emma sank into a chair, her mind racing. There was her neighbor, the quiet man who always seemed to watch from his porch. There was the delivery driver who had lingered too long last week. Was one of them involved? And then there were the calls, the strange messages she had dismissed as mistakes. Now it all felt connected. Jack knelt beside her, his presence calm but urgent. "I'm not just here to protect you physically," he said. "I need to get inside the bigger picture, understand why they're after you. There's something about you they don't want the world to see." Emma's eyes widened. "Me? Why me?" Jack shook his head slightly, refusing to answer. We don't have time for questions yet. Every second counts. Outside, a faint sound echoed, a car door shutting, a shadow slipping past a neighbor's fence. The tension in the room thickened, and Emma realized that the danger wasn't just knocking at the door anymore, it was already inside the perimeter, closing in. The night outside grew heavier, shadows stretching across the walls as if reaching for the fragile safety Emma and Jack tried to cling to. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the trees outside felt amplified, like warning signals she couldn't ignore. Jack moved closer to the windows, scanning the street with a practiced eye, his jaw tight. They're watching, he muttered, more to himself than to Emma. Emma clutched a throw pillow to her chest, her mind spinning. She wanted to run, to lock herself in a closet, but something in Jack's steady presence kept her rooted. Who are they? She whispered, her voice trembling. Why me? Jack didn't answer directly. Instead, he pulled out a small notebook, filled with scribbles, maps, and notes about people Emma had never noticed but who had crossed her life in seemingly insignificant ways. It's bigger than just one person, he said. They've been planning this for months, maybe years. And tonight they'll make their move. A sudden noise from outside, the sharp crunch of gravel, made both of them jump. Jack gestured for Emma to stay low as he moved silently to the door. From the corner of her eye, Emma saw a shadow slip past the window, fast and deliberate. Her pulse raced, her breath catching in her throat. Jack's hand found hers. Listen to me, he said, voice firm now, urgent. Whatever happens, you have to stay calm. You can't show fear. They're looking for that. Emma nodded, barely able to speak. The distant hum of an engine, the whisper of leaves, and the pounding of her own heart filled the silence. The threat was closer than she had ever imagined, and the moment of confrontation was almost here. Every second felt like a countdown. Before Emma could even process the tension, a sudden, sharp beep came from her phone. She froze, looking at the screen, another unknown number, but this time, the call wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside the house. Her eyes darted to Jack, who stiffened immediately. They've found a way in, he said, his voice low but edged with urgency. It's not just outside anymore. Emma's heart thumped violently. She hadn't realized the danger could reach this far. Her safe little world, the wall she had trusted to keep her secure, now felt like glass, transparent and fragile. Jack moved to the hall, signaling her to stay back. He listened carefully, then whispered, "It's a device. Someone's tracking us, listening, maybe even controlling what happens next." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. She had never imagined anyone could target her so directly. All the moments she had ignored, the strange cars, the lingering strangers, the odd texts, they weren't coincidences. And now the threat had entered her home, invisible but immediate. Jack's eyes met hers, and there was a mix of fear and determination she hadn't seen before. We're not just hiding tonight. We have to act, or it's going to be too late. A sudden crash came from the back of the house, something heavy hitting the floor. Emma gasped, her voice barely audible. They're here. Jack tightened his grip on her hand. No, he said, shaking his head, they're closer than you think. And the truth about why they're after you, it's far worse than we imagined. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying with it the faint echo of footsteps, deliberate and unrelenting, closing in on the house. The night had shifted from tense to terrifying, and Emma realized that what had started as a mysterious warning had become a battle for survival she could no longer ignore. The back door burst open with a violent slam, and Emma screamed, dropping to the floor as Jack pushed her behind the couch. Shadows lunged into the living room, shapes moving too fast for her to make sense of. Jack's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. Stop. Now. One of the intruders froze, and in that instant, Emma realized they weren't strangers, they were people she had seen before, seemingly ordinary neighbors and co-workers, now twisted by something darker, something she couldn't yet understand. Jack lunged, blocking her from the nearest shadow, and in a blur of motion, he overpowered the first figure, tossing them toward the door. The others hesitated, uncertainty flashing across their faces. They're not here to steal, Jack shouted, his voice tense but steady. They're here because of what you know, Emma. Something you've never realized, something they're desperate to keep secret.